What is going on, college basketball fans? We're back with my Week 17 Dannyology Power 35 rankings. As always, we are dropping these every single Monday morning. You don't want to miss it. We're getting super close to March Madness, and we have daily college basketball March Madness coverage here on the channel. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed, and comment down below what you guys think about my rankings. Without further ado, let's get it started. All right, so here is the Dannyology 35 for week 17, and towards the top we're looking pretty similar to last week's, but throughout a good amount of changes. So we'll start at the top as always. Our number one team, same as last week, we do have the Houston Cougars. They were dominant this week in the AAC. 2-0 week, two dominant wins. They are definitely right now one of the favorites to win the championship, and really my top three are indefinitely the top three. Like, no arguments. Houston, Kansas, Alabama, the top three teams in the country. Now, you could switch them up. Like, there could be arguments for Kansas to be number one, for Alabama to be number one, and you could switch these all around if you wanted to. But right now, I feel like Houston is playing the best basketball. I have them as my number one team in the country right now. At number two, I do have the Kansas Jayhawks. They had a 2-0 week against TCU on the road and against West Virginia at home. No easy games in the Big 12. Two very good wins. Kansas staying at number two just like last week. Same as last week as well. Our number three team is Alabama. They had a 2-0 week. Barely snuck by South Carolina on the road. That South Carolina team was hot in that game, but Brandon Miller, 41 points and a game winner, a game tire in regulation, and a game winner at the end of overtime. Amazing performance. Brandon Miller has been cooking the last few games, and it's going to be scary if you have to go up against him and this Bama team in March Madness. They're up here at number three. Staying at number four, we do have UCLA. They had a 2-0 week. They just defeated Colorado just a little bit before I started making this video. They stay up here at number four. And actually, staying at number five, we do have Purdue. I know they lost to Indiana this week, but honestly, there's nobody that really, behind them did enough damage to where they were going to jump over Purdue. You could argue maybe Marquette has done enough, but I have them jumping up a few spots, but still staying there at number six. I still believe that Purdue is a really solid team. They're going through a rough patch right now, and really the entire Big Ten has been, going through rough patches in and out throughout the entire season. Purdue has been able to avoid that until just the last few weeks. So we'll see if Purdue can get it back on track and how they do in the Big Ten tournament. Very interested to see how that plays out. But jumping up a couple of spots, we do have Marquette, a very good week. Barely escaped DePaul, but they also got a really good win on the road at Creighton. I mean, that's an amazing team win, because Creighton was a hot team. It's a tough place to play, especially sold out in Omaha. So Marquette gets a big win there, 2-0 week. They're up at number six for me this week, and they are in well control to win the Big East, and they're going to be the top seed in the Big East tournament. At number seven, we do have Arizona. They're dropping just one spot after losing to Arizona on an insane half-court buzzer beater. I mean, if you have not seen that buzzer beater, definitely go check it out. It was crazy. But, Arizona, that kind of thing happens. I still believe they're a really good team. They have some really good wins on the season. I still have them up here at number seven. At number eight, I do have the Texas Longhorns. They had a 1-1 week this week, including a loss to Baylor on the road. They split with Baylor on the season, though. I still have them up here at number eight. At number nine, I do have Kansas State. Kansas State, they're on a 3-game win streak now. They were starting to cool off a little bit, but after they did lose to, I believe it was Oklahoma, that kind of woke them up a little bit. They've been back on track, getting really good wins against teams like Baylor, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State. 3 really good wins in a row there for Kansas State. They're back up at number 9 in my power rankings, and they actually swept my number 10 team on the year, Baylor, with another win over them this weekend. Kansas State has swept them, but Baylor, they were a really hot team. They started to drop a few. They're here at number 10 right now, still a very solid team. The Big 12 is so so stacked, man. 4 teams in the top 10 here. I really do believe that Texas, Kansas State, and Baylor are all like on that same level. And if you wanted to move these teams around and switch spots with them, I could definitely see arguments for that. But they're coming in here at number 8, 9, and 10, all Big 12 teams right there. At number 11, I do have Gonzaga. Gonzaga has been hot lately, very hot lately, and they got a really good win over St. Mary's. They were in well control of that game. Started to let St. Mary's maybe start to creep back in it a little bit, but they were able to hold on and pull away again in the end to get the win over the Gales. They split the season series with them on the year, and now they have a shot at a share of, or I believe they have a share now with St. Mary's for the West Coast regular season championship. At number 12, I do have Tennessee. They're jumping back up, I think, one spot, maybe two, after a 40-point win over South Carolina. You know, they went through a really bad rough patch there, including another loss this week to Texas A&M, but bounce back game, 40-point win over South Carolina. We'll see if they can build on that and start to become that team that we saw at the beginning of the year that was that beat Kansas, that beat Texas, that almost beat Arizona on the road. Like Tennessee, they have a really good team. They're just so on and off. But I do have them up here at number 12 right now. At number 13, I do have Indiana. I mean, they swept Purdue on the year. Still moving up some spots here for me this week. They did also have a 1-1 week, though. They did get an amazing win on the road in Mackey Arena, but they also lost to Michigan State. That's a very tough team to play on the road, though, so I don't fault them too much for that. They're still moving up some spots up here to number 13. At number 14, I do have Miami, and Miami dropped a tough one to Florida State, just like Arizona did lose to Arizona State on a buzzer beater. Florida State, not as good of a team as Arizona State, but still a tough way to lose on a buzzer beater to Florida State, and it was right after Jordan Miller, you thought, was going to be the one who hit the game winner with just about like 5 seconds or so left to go up by 2. Then Florida State comes back and hits one just past half court to beat Miami and upset them. So they drop a couple of spots, but still up here at number 14. At number 15, one of the biggest droppers of the week from my top 10, I believe around 6 or 7 last week, they drop all the way down to 15. Now, this was, I was skeptical of putting them in my top 10 last week because they were barely beating teams like Boston College, or not Boston College, like they were barely beating some of these not so great teams in the ACC, but then this week they lost to Boston College and North Carolina 0-2 week after they were barely scraping by some of these other teams. They're just not playing really good basketball right now at all. They're dropping all the way down here to 15 behind Miami, no longer the top ranked ACC team right now. At number 16, I do have St. Mary's. They do drop like one spot, I believe, after losing to Gonzaga on the road, but still a very good team. I don't think that loss is too bad. They split with Gonzaga on the year. A very tough place to play Gonzaga on the road, so they're still here at 16. At number 17, one of the biggest jumpers of the week, really, we do have San Diego State. And it's not really just because of this week, but also just because the last couple of weeks, San Diego State has been on fire. And they hit a buzzer beater on the road at New Mexico to defeat them. And they are on a pretty nice win streak right now. San Diego State is playing some really good basketball on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. They're up here at 17. You have Xavier, and Xavier, they've been playing pretty decent as of late. They lost this week to a Villanova team that has been pretty hot since Justin Moore has returned. Look out for maybe Villanova to get a bid steal in the Big East tournament. That would be crazy. But Xavier, they've been playing pretty good. No Zach Fremantle the last few games. If he can come back before March, look out for Xavier. They're down a couple of spots, but still in the top 20 at number 18. At number 19, we do have the UConn Huskies, and they're jumping up, 5 or 6 spots this week from last week after a really good 2-0 week, a good win over Providence. UConn is up here back in the top 20. They're playing really good basketball right now. We'll see if they can keep it up. At number 20, we do have TCU. They did take a loss this week, but it was on the road at Kansas. Or no, they were at home against Kansas, but still Kansas is playing really good right now. They're my number 2 team, so I don't fault them too much for that. They bounced back with a win over Texas Tech. That was a hot Texas Tech team, so for TCU to scrape by and still pick up that win still shows me some promise. So TCU rounds out our top 20. At number 21, we do have Providence. They took a loss to UConn this week. UConn, they're playing really good basketball right now. I don't fault them too much for that one, but they're still here at 21. Number 22, we do have the great Blue Jays. They actually had an 0-2 week after they were starting to look like they were turning up again and looking like the team that we saw at the beginning of the year. 0-2 week this week. Tough ones, man. I lost at home to Marquette. They definitely had their opportunities to win that game, and then they lost to a Villanova team that, like I said before, also beat Xavier this week. Villanova, a very hot team with Justin Moore coming back, but Creighton falls down to 22. They dropped down quite a few spots. At number 23, another team that went 0-2 this week, we do have Iowa State. And Iowa State, they've been struggling a lot recently. I debated having them falling completely out of my top 25, but I do realize that the Big 12 is just a gauntlet. You're going to have these streaks, so I'm going to give them one more chance to see if they can have a really good week this week. They get West Virginia at home on Monday, which is the day that this video is going to be posted. So we'll see if they can get that win. If not, then they're definitely going to have to fall quite a bit out of the top 25. At number 24, we do have the Maryland Terrapins. Maryland is actually playing really good basketball as of late. Like, I'm not going to lie, Maryland, I've been sleeping on them a little bit, but they had a 2-0 week this week, including a good win over Northwestern. Maryland's playing really good. They're up here at number 24. At number 25, we do have Texas A&M. They had a really good win this week against Tennessee, but they also lost to Mississippi State. So a 1-1 week. Texas A&M, they've still been playing outstanding in SEC play. I think they're staying around the similar spot as last week, even though they got a big win over Tennessee. At number 26, we do have NC State. They got beat up by Clemson on Saturday, and that was shocking to me because Clemson, they haven't been playing that great lately. NC State has been playing really great lately. They dropped that one pretty bad by Clemson. We'll see if they can bounce back from this. I have them here at 26. At number 27, another team like Creighton and Iowa State just dropped 2 this week, an 0-2 weeks. In Northwestern, I had them in my top 20 last week, so now they're dropping, I think, like 7 or 8 spots after an 0-2 week. We'll see if they can bounce back. Some teams, they get ranked for the first time and then they start losing. So hopefully that doesn't happen in Northwestern, because them, Boo Booey and them boys, they have been playing really good basketball. So I want to see them do some good things this year. We'll see if they can bounce back. At number 28, we do have the Duke Blue Devils, and Duke has a really fun matchup against NC State coming up. We'll see who will come out on top in that one. My number 26 versus my 28, but Duke had a 2-0 week this week against, they got a good win over Virginia Tech. Some good wins this week for Duke. They're staying around the same spot as last week. They might be up a spot or 2. At number 29, we do have the Pitt Panthers. They had a 2-0 week similar to Duke. Since Duke did beat Pitt this year in the head-to-head, I gave them the nod in this one, but Duke and Pitt very close. The head-to-head decided that one. At number 30, we do have Arkansas. Arkansas a 1-1 week, but Nick Smith Jr. is back, and Arkansas has been playing amazing as of late. Almost was able to pull off a big-time upset on the road at Alabama on Saturday. Nick Smith Jr. has been playing great this week. They are maybe down a spot or 2, but I don't fault them too much for losing to Bama on the road, because Bama, like I said, Houston, Kansas, Bama, undisputably the top 3 teams in the country, and Arkansas played them really, really tough, and they're going to be a tough out in the tournament. I've said this many times in my sleepers video, all that stuff. Arkansas is my top sleeper in March Madness this year, especially the way Nick Smith Jr. has been playing this week. At number 31, we do have Kentucky, and Kentucky's been playing really good basketball as of late. Like, they've won most of their recent games. They had another 2-0 week this week, but because Arkansas did beat Kentucky, I decided to still keep Arkansas above them. Kentucky coming in here at number 31. At number 32 and 33, I'll talk about them together because they're kind of similar. Both Mountain West teams, Nevada and Boise State, been playing good basketball as of late. Boise State did drop one this week to San Jose State. That was not a great loss there. I worry about Boise maybe just being good at home, not really being able to perform on the road, but this Nevada team I really do like. They're very scrappy, very good on defense. Both these teams are going to be dangerous in the Mountain West tourney and maybe even the NCAA tournament. At number 34, we do have another SEC team in Missouri. They had a 2-0 week this week, had needed overtime to get past Mississippi State. Really good game, but Missouri 2-0 week. They're in here at 34. And at number 35, I do have Florida Atlantic University. Yes, they dropped one, not this week, but the week before. But they had a really good week this week, 2-0 again. They're staying in my top 35. They have been one of the best mid-major teams in the country all year long, and they definitely deserve to be up here. But my teams to watch, I do have Memphis. Memphis was my number 35 last week, but they just, they're my number 36. They're basically my number 36. They didn't lose this week or anything like this. They've actually been playing really good basketball as of late, but they're right there. Definitely wish I had another spot on this list to give Memphis. Oral Roberts, I wanted to put them on my list. They are the last remaining team in the country that is still undefeated in conference play. Oral Roberts, big time sleeper, Cinderella type potential for this Oral Roberts team, 100%. Rutgers, they got a really good win over Penn State. I actually just got done watching that game before I started making my rankings. Came back from 19 to defeat Penn State on the road. But the problem with Rutgers is they almost always have a 1-1 week, so they're not consistent enough to ever make the top 35. They're always in the teams to watch. USC is a team that I thought was going to make the rankings this week, but they've been playing really good basketball. Another 2-0 week. If they can finish the season strong, they'll definitely be in the top 35. The final Power 35, I believe, will be next week. Maybe we'll do one after the conference tournaments. I'm not sure. But USC, good week. They can definitely make it next week. Iowa, they had an insane comeback against Michigan State, but they're kind of similar to Rutgers, where they're almost always having a 1-1 week, so they can never make the rankings. But Rutgers, Iowa, if they end on a 2-0 week this last week, then they can definitely make the final rankings. Arizona State, a crazy buzzer beater to defeat Arizona. I'm going to give them a mention here. Another team like USC, they can maybe sneak into their rankings next week. Clemson with a 20-point win over NC State this week. Came out of nowhere because Clemson has been playing pretty bad before that. But they did, other than that really bad rough patch, Clemson was in the rankings, in the top 25 and all that stuff. So we'll see if they can sneak back into it. Utah State, another good Mountain West team that just didn't make the cut this week. Michigan State, kind of similar to Rutgers, Iowa, and Illinois. Illinois, they had some really good wins on the season. They're just not consistent enough either. But I gave those type of Big Ten teams a mention here to maybe make the top 35 next week if they can have some really good weeks. But that is going to do it for this week's Dannyology Power 35. Next week might be the final Dannyology Power 35 of the year, but definitely the final one of the regular season. Let me know if you guys want to see one after the conference tournaments, or we might just be doing the bracketologies and all that stuff. But nonetheless, we will have college basketball content here on the channel daily, so you don't want to miss it. College basketball, March Madness coverage. Subscribe if you guys are new. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.